My brother-in-law wanted to feast on me instead of the food at a recent family gathering, and no one stopped him. Now I'm being blamed for finding him disgusting when it was just a test. Posted by u/throwrally97. My sister recently got married to my brother-in-law about 3 to 4 months ago, and I didn't really see much of them after the wedding, as they went on their honeymoon and then returned back to work. But once a month, our family gets together, and my parents host a huge feast. Since this took place a week ago, it was for the month of August. During this dinner, my brother-in-law was acting extremely weird towards me. He was complimenting my body, ignoring my sister, and just behaving strangely. It was completely unexpected for several reasons, one being that his wife was sitting right next to me, and two, he has only been married a few months. Also, he's never spoken to or about me like that before. I felt really uncomfortable, and I'm sure it was obvious to the rest of the room because, seriously, what was going on? What made it even stranger was that nobody said anything. I was extremely confused and just wanted to leave. I left early, but when I got home, I felt so icky. I don't even know how to describe it. I decided to message my sister to let her know his behavior made me uncomfortable. I also mentioned that it was concerning that he felt comfortable saying these things in front of my parents and brother. I explained that if she didn't feel comfortable addressing it, I wouldn't mind talking to him myself. His behavior was so unnerving that I FaceTimed my boyfriend, who was away for work in the US. I told him how suddenly my brother-in-law's behavior towards me shifted from that of a sibling to this horribly uncomfortable situation. He was pissed, and rightfully so. My sister didn't respond to my texts until the next day. She asked to meet up, so I did. I was expecting her to be upset and for him to apologize for what he said. Instead, she admitted that it was all a test, and I had passed. I was confused, to say the least. What did she mean by a test? What was going on? Turns out, she had her husband do those things on purpose because she wanted to see how I would react if he really said those things to me and meant them. My reaction and choice to message her afterward told her I could be trusted around him. I was offended, to say the least. Why would she think I couldn't be trusted? Well, let me tell you what I believe to be a completely invalid reason for this lack of trust. My sister has been married before. She was 27, and the divorce happened about 10 months into the marriage. Her ex was a psycho, to say the least. He had known me longer than he knew my sister. I was the one who introduced them. They got along well and eventually started dating. It seemed like the healthiest, most romantic relationship to ever grace this planet. Then, they got married. During their marriage, I was staying with them because it was a closer commute to work. They had extra bedrooms, and I paid rent and took care of myself by cooking and cleaning. But my underwear started going missing. At first, I assumed it had just gotten mixed up in my sister's laundry and would turn up eventually. But it happened more frequently, to the point where I was buying underwear almost weekly. I kept pressuring my sister to admit she was taking it, but she was adamant it wasn't her. I decided to ignore it and move on. It hadn't even crossed my mind that the real reason was far worse. My former brother-in-law was stealing my underwear. I don't know, nor did I want to know, what he was doing with it when I found out. I was so disgusted and confused. Someone I thought was my friend was actually just a pervert. He admitted that he had never really loved my sister and was just using her to get close to me. I was so creeped out, and I pressed charges against him for his sickening behavior. I was able to get a restraining order, and my sister divorced him almost instantly after finding out. She took something traumatic that happened to me and twisted it to make it seem like I was the untrustworthy one. She claimed I must have strung him along for him to think that way, and this test was to prove I wasn't doing it again. Safe to say, I was extremely hurt and angry at her response, so I told her to never speak to or contact me again if that's what she really thought of me. My family found out, and for the most part, they agree her behavior is crazy. But my mother stood by her actions, saying my sister was just trying to protect herself from being hurt again. I told her that if my sister had just been honest with me from the start, I wouldn't have been as bothered. There's a right way to approach things and a wrong way, and this wasn't just wrong, it was also crazy. Why is she so convinced it's my life's goal to hurt her? I didn't know her ex was going to turn out like that, so why am I being punished? She claimed I should have had some indication he liked me, but he really made it seem like he was head over heels for my sister. How was I supposed to know what was going on in someone else's mind? Anyway, the family dinner this month was held earlier because it was the most compatible date for everyone's schedules, yesterday. I told my parents to expect me not to show up if my sister and brother-in-law were going. It wasn't even that I refused to speak to her ever again, it's just that, with the situation so fresh, I told my mother I would apologize when I had cooled down. It was just difficult to face them when they made me feel like a horrible person for a situation that was out of my control. My mother assured me my sister wouldn't attend, so I agreed to come. When I arrived, they were both there. It felt like an ambush, and it sort of was. My sister demanded I apologize for my reaction because, according to her, It was my own fault it happened in the first place. I can't lie, I snapped. I told her to remove my number and forget the title of being my sister if she really felt that way. I need advice because my therapy session isn't scheduled for another 2 weeks, and I feel like I just dreamt a soap opera storyline. I feel kind of bad because I do understand my sister had her trust broken completely by her ex, but I feel like that distrust shouldn't be aimed at me, it should be directed at the person who actually caused it. And I already feel guilty for being the one who introduced her to the jerk in the first place. But I'm struggling to understand how her schemes to manipulate me into thinking she's being wronged by her husband again are so extreme. I want to apologize to her for one reason, introducing that man to her in the first place. I really need her to see that I wasn't doing anything wrong when her ex was stealing my underwear. I was just as in the dark as she was. How do I go about apologizing for introducing her to him while also getting my sister's trust back and showing her I truly just want the best for her? Commenter. What were your father and other family members doing during this charade? Why didn't anyone speak up or have your back? It's totally creepy. You deserve to be treated better by everyone who was there. Ops response. My dad wasn't pleased with what my brother-in-law said during the August dinner. Then, when he found out about the plan, he forbade him from entering the family home again. My mother lied and said they weren't invited, but they showed up anyway. Apparently, my dad was livid and threatened to call the police if they didn't leave. I left after saying what I said, so I don't know what happened afterward. However, my brother called me and told me everything that went down after I left the August dinner and at this month's dinner. My brother and dad are amazing, and I'm going to update the post at some point to make sure everyone knows. Update 3 days later. A lot has happened over the last couple of days. I have tried to read all the comments and taken everyone's advice. This has been the outcome. I lost a sister and a mother in 2 days. It's more heartbreaking than anything. I had a meetup with everyone, and my boyfriend came with me so I had support during the conversation. Honestly, it was hard to look at any of them because of the way they treated me. I'm so thankful to everyone for opening my eyes to the crazy behavior exhibited in the first part of this story. In front of everyone, my mother admitted to knowing about the plans from the start. My sister confided in her, and she agreed it was a good idea. She supported her son-in-law openly harassing her daughter. I'm in complete shock, and it just hurts so much knowing she would condone this, considering she knew how much I was affected by the first husband. She knew I was having a difficult time in therapy. It took me a long time to trust people again after that, and I feel like once again, my trust has been broken. I don't know how I'm ever going to trust anyone again. I'm really thankful my boyfriend was there to comfort me because it was so hard to keep my composure around them. My sister was not budging at all. She kept maintaining she was in the right. She said the only reason I wouldn't apologize is because, deep down, I knew what her ex was like. She said I just liked getting attention from him, knowing he was married to my sister. She also claimed I overreacted, and if it's acting, then it's not harassment. I told her she shouldn't expect any calls or texts from me, and not to be contacted by me until I received the apology I deserve from both her and my brother-in-law. Speaking of, he was pretty silent throughout the whole thing, probably because my father threatened his life if he spoke badly about me. He did say that the only reason he did it was to placate my sister because she kept accusing him of ogling me. But still, no apology from him. My mother, this one broke my heart the most. She told me I was over-exaggerating and that I should be happy to have passed my sister's test. She actually said the words, "We can all move on now." I was in complete awe, to be honest. How could she think that things would just go back to normal after this? I asked why she was supporting such delusional behavior. She said it was because she loved my sister and wanted her to be happy. I asked her if she loved me as much as she loved my sister. She said yes. It seemed hesitant, but I don't want to read too much into that. I told her I wanted an apology for her schemes. She refused, so I gave her the same conditions I gave my sister and brother-in-law. Until I get an apology, I simply am not speaking to all 3 of them. As a result, I probably have to go low contact with my brother and dad because they both live with my mother. I mean, I'll hang out with them outside and without my mother's presence, but whether she'll let them is the question. I know some of you have suggested spending time with my boyfriend's family on holidays and special occasions. I haven't met my boyfriend's family before because they live in the US, but after this situation, I've taken 2 weeks of paid holiday at the end of this month, and he's taking me to meet them for the first time. I hope it goes well because they might be the only family I have now. My therapy session has been moved to tomorrow because I requested an emergency appointment, so wish me luck. Anyway, my biggest thanks go to all you Redditors for helping me see the situation for what it was. For your advice and compassion, I'm really grateful. I don't think I would have been able to get through this on my own. It's likely I would have caved and apologized, just for the pattern to repeat itself. Truly, thank you so much. Wishing you all the best, and I hope you know that your advice might have just saved me from my need to always please others. I'll look back on this moment anytime I feel like putting someone else's feelings above my own comfort. Hope your hearts are filled with love and happiness. Second update 9 months later. Posting this on my profile instead because a few people have requested an update. To be honest, there hasn't been much to update on regarding that particular situation. I am in contact with my mom again since the incident because she apologized. My sister and I still do not speak. From what I know, she is still married to my brother-in-law, and I think they're expecting, something I inferred from a family friend's Facebook post. I'm doing a lot better, though. I've grown closer to my dad and brother throughout everything. My relationship with my mother is more strained now. I feel like I still can't trust her, even though she apologized. I don't think we will ever be as close as we were before my sister's schemes. My relationship is going really well too. He was asking about rings, so I'm thinking a proposal might be in my future. Also, his parents are just the best. They've sort of taken me in, and it's so cute how they dote on me like I'm their daughter. His whole family is incredibly supportive and uplifting. We're going to visit them again in July. I'm so excited to go back. I love it in the US. The weather is better, the people are nicer, and, of course, I get to see where my man grew up. I just feel so much lighter and happier now that I've put behind me what my ex-brother-in-law and current brother-in-law put me through. I wish her the best with her pregnancy, but that's all I can do since she still refuses to apologize. This probably wasn't the update you were looking for, but it's all I can give at this moment. Hope you're all having a wonderful day and a better summer than I'm having. Oh, and for anyone from TikTok, my brother-in-law and mother are not together. I've asked the person to take it down, but they haven't responded, so I just thought I would make it clear, my brother-in-law and mom have not slept together or done anything weird to my knowledge. Third update 3 months later. This is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to admit to myself. I wish it didn't have to come to this, but unfortunately, I think it's the only way I will ever get to live a normal life again. My sister has been telling our family members a completely warped version of events. I only found out when I sent out the save the dates. I got a call from an aunt, telling me I was brave for inviting all these people after ruining my sister's life. I was so confused, so I asked her what she meant. She elaborated, saying I was wrong for trying to seduce both of my sister's husbands, and that my fiancé was an idiot for supporting me. I laughed, out of astonishment, not amusement. First, I told her to watch what she said about my soon-to-be husband. He's the only support I've had during this horrible time in my life. Then, I told her what actually went down. She was shocked and didn't believe me. I told her she could easily confirm it with my parents and brother. Well, she informed me that my mother had already confirmed things for her. I was so pissed off. Words can't describe the anger I felt at that moment. It was like everything I had gone through over the past few years had piled up, and I couldn't take it anymore. I just hung up the phone. I called my mother, who had been begging for my forgiveness a few months ago. I told her I was done. She supported my delusional sister in her crazy schemes, and I forgave her. Out of the goodness of my heart, I chose to put that behind me so I wouldn't lose my mother. But she went behind my back and sided with my sister in front of our extended family, making everyone think I was callous enough to seduce my own brothers-in-law. She allowed people to spread lies about her own daughter. I told her I never want to see or speak to her again. I called my brother and asked if he knew any of this had been happening. Thankfully, he didn't. Neither did my dad. I then wrote a letter to my sister, which covered 4 main points. 1. I was deeply sorry for everything she had been through. This did not mean I understood or forgave her actions, but I was apologetic for how things turned out. 2. She needed to seek help for what my former brother-in-law put her through. 3. I was stunned that she thought she could lie about what happened to everyone and get away with it. From that point on, she had truly lost the right to call herself my sister. 4. I wished her the very best in life but stated that I never wanted to see or hear from her again. She had caused me far too much pain, and I'll never be able to forgive her. I will never speak to, reach out to, or even entertain the idea of reconciling with my mother or sister again. It is up to my father and brother whether they choose to associate with them, but for me, everything is beyond repair. The lies have stacked up so much that there isn't a pair of scissors sharp enough to cut through them. My fiancé and I have decided that with everything that has happened, we will just have a town hall wedding, just a couple of witnesses, and the 2 of us. I'm so eternally grateful to have found him. He's my entire world, and without him here to talk me out of a breakdown, I might never have survived. Family is not always who you are born with, but the people you meet along the way. I've been so incredibly lucky to have met some of the best people with whom I can start my own family. It is with great sadness that I make this update. It's my own fault for believing in the best of people. To think that I would ever get an apology is just so naive, but I think this may have been a blessing in disguise. At the very least, I'm choosing to see it that way. This chapter of my life is officially over, and I can now move on to better and brighter things. Thank you all for tuning into this portion of my life. Love you all, and I hope you have better luck with your family members than I have. By the way, I know people are curious about my ethnicity. I'm mixed race, my mother is Indian, and my father is English. I grew up and have lived in England for most of my life.